the Bank of Ghana, working with our friends from Aurum Global Partners, Selim, who I see sitting there. He has been very, very supportive of the bank, together with Positive Impact Sal, who has been working closely with the Financial Markets Department. We thank you very much for the support that you have provided over the past few years. They have assisted us to develop a very strong framework in developing a responsible sourcing and due diligence framework, which is helping to build the reputation of Bank of Ghana in this area of gold purchasing to support the ASM mining sector in particular. This is an area where we see a lot of promise going forward, and we have received a lot of interest in helping to build the ASM Center. I'm glad the minister himself is here. I went to see him with some of the proposals that we have received in order to support some of these small-scale miners with equipment to be able to, in a sense, optimize their production, which would go a long way. I see that program as a very transformative program, and we are determined to provide it with the greatest support to achieve our objectives.
I'm very honored to be with you today and to represent Metalor. Founded in 1852 in Switzerland, Metalor operates 11 production plants around the world and play an important role in the precious metal industry. Metalor not only refines 7 precious metals in one of our 5 LBMA gold delivery certified plants, but provide as well various finished precious metal products from plating solution for the electronic segments, such as semiconductor connectors, printed circuit board, but as well to produce investment bars, and as well palladium-based catalysts for the pharma industry. This is a few examples of type of product produced by Metalor.
We'll invite Mr. Fendi as moderator. That's the last session. From here, we'll go to lunch, enjoy the breeze, mix up, and then still enjoy the exhibition. So he should be joined, or you'll also invite your own panelists, or I should help you. Mr. Fendi.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Should I invite your panelists for you?
Please do.
All right. So, Minerals Commission, Dr. AEC Martin, if he's here. Nana Kwesiewia, PMMC, my own. Mr. Michael Daute, if you are also here. All right, shall we receive them with a round of applause, please, with some energy? This is the last one.
And right. The best one.
We saved the best for the last.
Absolutely. How are you?
Great.
Good. So, how do you pronounce your last name? Huh? Nana. Okay. Nana.
Mr. Ayi is representing Mr. IEC. He's the technical man. Right. World Bank man, you're also ready. Perfect. Okay. So finish it up. So we go for lunch.
Ben.
Lunch, get ready. We are coming.
Ben, can I call you Ben? Good morning, good afternoon. I would like thank you for your time. I'd like to make it as short and sweet and nice as possible, and I'd like to make the best panel of the day. We'll try. So, my question sometimes going to be very direct. It's nothing against Ghana. I love Ghana. It's just I want to make it better. So, without my first question is going to go to PMMC, my favorite. Nana, with the new regulations that Bank of Ghana has worked tremendously in the last couple of years, they're making sustainability and responsible gold as now mandatory. Now, with the new program since 1st January 2023, that you're buying gold on behalf of the Bank of Ghana, how do you manage to make sure that the gold you're buying is responsible?
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you all. Indeed, responsible sourcing, as you would all appreciate, is a key thing when it comes to maintaining relevance within the global market when it comes to gold. PMMC is not left out. Ghana is also not left out. We fully understand the implications of irresponsibly sourced gold. In fact, only this afternoon, I'm reading a news article from Dubai that one of the oldest refineries in Dubai, Emirates Gold, has been blacklisted. And the reason being money laundering concerns. And so when the Bank of Ghana launched its domestic gold purchase program, it was one of the things that they did insist on, that PMMC needs to ensure that the gold is responsibly sourced. And for that reason, in getting PMMC on board, our instructions were very clear that we need to collaborate with the small-scale miners and as well as the community mining schemes that the government had launched. And for that reason, this is how we source our gold. Beyond that, since in preparation for this year, when the Gold for Oil program was announced, even before then, we had anticipated that responsible sourcing was key for us. For that reason, we had to change our licensing regime. The regulations were such that before those who were licensing to purchase gold, they were not filing any returns with PMMC. So it was the usual, you go get your license, buy, you do your trade, nobody asks you any questions. When the license expires, you come back and renew. But we had to change the regulations in order to introduce the filing of returns, monthly returns, where we are able to track that if you have a trading license, you bought the gold from this miner, this is who you sold it to, this was the cartage and all of that. That way it helps us keep track of all gold purchases by our licensed traders. So this is how broadly and generally we have been meeting those responsible sourcing guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll get back to you very shortly. Ben from Mineral Commission. You are an entity that provide license for large scale and for small scale. So let's put the large scale aside. For small scale, when you give a new license, are you adding new requirement based on sustainability and responsibility for the new license for small scale?
Thank you very much. Let me just say that I'm with the ministry rather than the Minerals Commission. I used to work with the Minerals Commission. Responsible mining, to what extent is the ministry, the Minerals Commission making sure that that gets to happen? There's a lot that the ministry, the Minerals Commission has been doing over the years, and maybe let me recap very quickly. As my honorable minister did indicate, much earlier, the activities were illegal, and government deemed it appropriate to put a legal framework into position to ensure that it can be regulated properly. So as far as 1989, government did put a legal framework in place. Beyond that, it put in
an institutional framework, the Minerals Commission being in the lead, to ensure that the activity is responsible and legal. But let me highlight one dimension which we have not given as much attention as we should have. And I'm sure if Mr. Aisi was here, he would do exactly the same. We have all talked, including development partners. We've insisted on small-scale miners operating illegally without supporting them to find land suitable for their operations. And therefore, they go about operating just about anywhere. One of the emphasis we are giving now is that if you want people to operate responsibly, you need to ensure that they have land which is suitable for their operations, which will be viable as well. That is to say, exploration must precede any exploitation. Unfortunately, we have not supported them to do that in the past. So that's one of the things we are placing a lot of emphasis on now. And the Minerals Commission is working with the Geological Survey, supporting them financially to undertake a lot more exploration to ensure that we identify areas suitable for small-scale mining. Once we find areas suitable and viable for small-scale mining, the experience has been that they stay on that piece of ground for a long time because it's viable, it is suitable, therefore we can ensure that they operate sustainably and responsibly. They therefore also generate enough to want to stay there rather than create environmental degradation and basically move on. So that way, together, working with them, we ensure that they're operating viably but also responsibly. Then again, we can feed into the PMMC system that he described earlier.
Okay. I know that everybody is tapping and hammering the small-scale miners for illegal mining, but I'd like more to focus on the solution rather than the problem. So the solution sometimes could come from financiers, because without any money, we can talk forever about new laws, new project. Money is the key thing, how to improve the small-scale mining, which leads me to the World Bank. I guess you're representing a project of the World Bank, am I right?
Yes, so
Yes.
I'm presenting the Ghana Landscape Restoration and Small-Scale Mining Projects.
So tell us how you can fit, how do you fit, and how do you help small-scale miners in order to improve them to extract responsible gold from your end?
All right, so thank you very much. From our end, we are using an integrated approach, looking at small-scale mining, looking at agriculture, and then looking at forestry, trying to integrate all these three sectors and then ensure that we mine sustainably, ensure that we carry out agriculture, and also ensure that we carry out forestry, activities without destroying the environment. One of the key things we are doing as a project, like Mr. Ayi mentioned, we are supporting the Ghana Geological Survey to also conduct geological investigation, and we are looking at a total land area of about 1,600 square kilometer area, and this covers about 20 block out areas for small scale mining. So we're supporting geological survey to be able to conduct geological investigation, make these data available for the Minerals Commission, so we are able to, mine at the right place, make the needed profit, and then be able to recover and be able to reclaim the lands that we mine in. Now, beyond this, we are also looking at trying to review existing legislation and policy that guides small-scale mining. So we're supporting the Water Resources Commission, we're supporting Geological Survey, we're supporting the EPA to revise some of their existing laws so that at least we have very robust laws that can guide small-scale mining operations. And then we are also supporting training and then technology dissemination. Technology, especially the mercury-free technology. With regards to training, what we are set to do is to establish training centers. And we are going to establish 2 of them, one in the southern sector and then one towards the northern sector, just to support training activities for small-scale miners. Beyond that, we are also training, we have a target of about 10,000 small-scale miners and small-scale mine workers to train, before the project ends. The project is ending in 2027. So all this comes together to support the formalization process we are talking about. We are also thinking of establishing a one-stop shop for application of mining license. Currently, the Minerals Commission is riding on the MCAS, And what we are doing is to upgrade the MCAS so that we bring the EPA on board, because EPA is a permitting body. And then we are also bringing the Water Resources Commission on board the same platform, so that once you put in the application, all these institutions have access to the application, and then they are able to work on the application. And then within a short time, you are able to receive your license, to mine. So basically, this is what our project is doing. We also want to pilot reclamation of mined out areas, and then we'll learn from it, and then probably upscale if we get more resources. So that is the support World Bank is giving to Ghana government.
I'll get back to you. I have probably 1,000 questions, but I know we have time restraint, so I'll make them very short. My next question is for PMMC. Despite the fact that Bank of Ghana is buying gold at a fair price, which is market price, and the small-scale miners can no longer export overseas, what is the percentage of small-scale miners that are still exporting with exemption, or they're not?
Okay. So when the program started, it was exclusively for the Bank of Ghana to purchase the gold and export. Now, the rationale behind the entire program was to ensure that the central bank is receiving the needed quantities of forex in order to meet the oil imports. Now, along the way, as you know, the IMF came on board, and it also became necessary for the bank, and for that reason, government to review the implementation of the program. For that reason, modifications were done in order to permit third parties who were interested in procuring gold from Ghana to come in and then lodge their funds with the central bank. The central bank converts the funds into cedis. They then purchase the gold so that they can do the export.
That's the common account.
Precisely. So currently, as we speak, that modification is in force. We are gradually onboarding third parties to be able to participate within the Gold for Oil program without losing the very essence of why the program was implemented or initiated in the first place, which is to guarantee forex for the central bank. So the only thing which has changed here will be that the central bank will no longer be funding the purchases of the gold, but this time around it will be third party like the small scale miners, existing license holders, existing export license holders, who will then bring in the funds, but those funds will be lodged with the central bank. The central bank,
foreign exchange?
Yes, in foreign exchange. The central bank converts the funds to them at a realistic exchange rate, give it to them, they then go into the market, buy, and then PMMC facilitates the export for them.
It's a game changer. It's wonderful.
Precisely.
It gives a lot of comfort to any investor
Precisely.
to come and buy gold, so you'll facilitate the gold.
Precisely.
Very, very good. Do we have time? Because I know we might have some questions in the audience, because I have 10,000. Do you want to go to questions? Yeah? Any question from the audience? Not yet, or I continue? I continue. Okay. If you have one, just raise your hand. For Mineral Commission, how do you see with the domestic purchase program that was implemented by the Bank of Ghana, from your perspective, what do you see that you can improve from your end? What would you do if you can improve it?
The Ministry and the Minerals Commission, I must say, have been supervising the mining dimension of all the operations, and again, has been engaged with both the World Bank project and PMMC. And so at every stage, it is critical that we proceed to improve our operations. And that is an ongoing thing. Indeed, my minister did indicate earlier on that the Minerals Commission, right from the beginning, when it did have just 8 offices at local levels to supervise operations to ensure they were responsible, has gone to the point that, as we speak now, they have over 20 offices, aside from regional and district offices dedicated to supervising such operations. We're also setting up satellite offices.
So you go to the business?
Yes,
right,
to make sure we are on the ground, to make sure it's working. Beyond that, the minister did also indicate that in terms of licensing, which has been one of the bottlenecks for small-scale miners, it is now allowed to be done online, virtually 24/7. So one could apply once you get online anytime.
Very
And
clear.
it is processed anytime. As soon as applications come in, they get to be processed. So these ongoing improvements are being done virtually on a weekly basis. The licensing system is working. A lot more inspectors have been employed. Indeed, they have been resourced better than in the past with various equipment. You can talk about the drones, you can talk about various monitoring facilities, you can talk about vehicles to ensure that they're on the ground. Indeed, he did talk about the tracking, which is one of the big things that has been introduced, the geo-referenced tracking of equipment used in the field,
Okay.
to be sure that we have equipment which are brought on board being used for legal mining activities only.
Okay.
When it gets out of bounds, there is a capacity to demobilize these equipment and so on. So there are a number of things that are happening. So both in terms of reforming the sector and also at the same time resourcing those who want to operate properly. Indeed, the World Bank is supporting us partly, but even before the World Bank came in, the Minerals Commission advanced monies to procure the processing equipment which would do extraction of gold without mercury, which government is committed to, ensuring that environmentally responsibility is upheld, as well as socially preventing degradation of environment to the detriment of communities and people in the vicinity and so on. So there is a whole spectrum of activities being improved to ensure that responsible mining gets to take place in the small-scale mining sector, which is also the responsibility of government to promote.
Clear. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Osabari Makoinse, Omankin in Boho traditional area. My first question is there a way Minister of Mines and then the Minerals Commission will come together and talk to mining companies to give away their lands that they are not using to be used for community mining? That is my first question. The second one is, our roads are bad because of the big trucks that cut manganese and bauxite from hinterlands. Can there be a way that the government, the Minerals Commission, and then the mining companies will come together to reconstruct the railway lines back so that all this big bulk cargo will be cut through the railway and allow us to use our road peacefully? Thank you.
You want to answer?
Please, I mean,
Okay.
you're in a better position.
Let me add one. Mr. Minerals Commission, we are talking about online licenses. I don't buy to that. Somebody will stay in an office, put application without the knowledge of the land owners, the people he is coming to work with, or is taking the land. Though the land, the minerals are invested to the government, but land is for people. How would that person know that the land has been given out to that person? So then let us review that online so that the owners of the land will be involved in the application of the licensing.
Okay. If I may attempt to answer. Okay.
My name is Kojo Safo from Takwa Community Mining. My question is regards to the way forward in helping the small-scale mining grow to boost the country's reserve when it comes to gold. My question is, we're talking about how to improve the small-scale mining sector, but when you look at the small-scale mining sector, especially those who deal with the underground mining, I'm talking from my point of view, because we deal with the underground mining, that's the rock mining. We have a lot of problems that we see for the government intervention. And I think it's the same thing that is happening at the other mining sector that's also deal with the underground mining. Especially when we come to the underground mining, we know there's dewatering, there's water underground, and it deals with levels at which the workers would work. Most of the abandoned shafts by the mining companies are now captured by the water. These peasant miners too, they can't have that financial muscle to acquire those logistics to water the underground. So what is the government doing to help in, let's say, if to purchase some of these logistics for them to water the underground? Then the next one, there's heat, a lot of heat underground. These workers go underground to work. What is the government also doing as part of the implementation in helping the small-scale mining sector to, let's say, acquire an industrial blowers to supply to these small-scale mining companies to also improve their modus operandi when it comes to the way and manner they work? Then we also have issue of financing. So we want to know what the government or the other stakeholders in the mining sector are also doing to improve the small-scale mining sector when it comes to this aspect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. You have the roads,
Okay.
you have lands that from Mineral Commission, so I'll let you answer Mineral Commission.
Thank you very much. Very loaded questions. Let me attempt to comment on these. The first one has to do with what is government doing to interact with the large-scale operations to seed land for small-scale mining. Let me talk about this in the context of government's community mining scheme. Government's community mining scheme is being promoted under two legal frameworks. The first one is the regular small-scale mining, where one could come forward and apply for a land, and if it is deemed appropriate. Remember that you must be a Ghanaian of age to apply for a small-scale mining license. One could do that, and if an area is deemed appropriate for small-scale mining, you could be granted such a license within a community mining framework where the community is given a lot of influence in terms of ownership and also participation. The other dimension of community mining is where government works with the large-scale miners. And I must commend the large-scale mining companies here. They've done a lot in terms of ceding ground to government, land on which they have already carried out exploration and found that land not suitable for their operations. With interaction with the Minerals Commission, they've ceded such ground to the Minerals Commission to be licensed for community mining schemes. So within these two frameworks, community mining, the minister did talk about 20 of such that have been licensed are operating. So indeed, the large-scale mines are supporting government in that respect. But it's just the beginning. We are continuing to engage to ensure that wherever possible, land where they have explored but which is not suitable for them can be ceded for small-scale mining operations. So that's a comment on the first one. The second one has to do with what can the large-scale mining operations, the bulk mining operations, do to assist in reconstructing rail to become the preferred means of hauling the bulk minerals. Indeed, I'm sure government as well as the mines will be very happy to have rail as a means of hauling their ore to the port. Because it's much cheaper, it's more reliable and predictable and so on. Indeed, I know that some years past, the bauxite and manganese company volunteered to support in reconstructing some parts of the rail. That didn't work because government believed that there was a need to have a more intensive look at the rail, the Western Rail Line, that is. And so government decided to get into having a feasibility study done and to raise appropriate financing to get it reconstructed completely. the ministry responsible for railway is in the process of still doing that. And I'm sure at the point in time, the bulk miners will be asked to get on board to support in ensuring that that gets to be done. So that has not been abandoned. Government is very keenly interested in that because in the absence of that, we are using the road. Again, that is contributing to the frequent destruction of our road. So government is not interested in that. And we are going to come back to the mines to assist in that respect. Online application, whether that means avoiding the landowners, that is not the case. Applications are submitted online. The Minerals Commission takes this on board, and the local officers go through all the processes that need to be gone through, including consulting the relevant landowners to be sure that they support the projects that are proposed. So that is not to say we are going to ignore or we have been ignoring landowners. It is to facilitate the processing. And so consulting landowners is still very much part of the processing of such applications. The miners will be interested in government assisting in a number of ways, whether financially or technically, to dewater the pits in which they want to operate, even to help them to create alternative support from the existing pillars, which have been supporting pre-existing operations and even bringing on board ventilation and so on. I wish I can say that government is going to do that today. That may not be realistic. Indeed, Ghana's laws recognize small-scale mining distinct from the rest of mining. Mining regularly requires that we have investors coming on board with the appropriate capacity technically and financially to explore, having explored, then to go in and responsibly exploit the resource as the laws of Ghana require. But then government recognize that Ghanaians there are who would want to be interested in mining, but who don't have the capacity required to meet all these requirements. And hence, government decided for people who don't have this capacity, it is going to help them to find areas suitable and simple enough for them to operate safely and responsibly. Indeed, attacking pillars which have been left to support ground in pre-existing operations is not one of the areas you would want people who didn't have the capacity technically and financially to get into. Those who get into these areas must have the capacity to be able to replace the pillars which they intend to, let me say, rob. These are pillars which were known to contain resources, but they needed to be left in the ground to support the ground. Else it will be irresponsible mining to just eat them up. And then it will cause all things, including subsidence on the ground. It will harm or even kill miners operating underground. So if you decide that you're going to put in alternative pillars to support the ground, you must have the technical capacity and the financial capacity to do that. Else, truly, you are not the person to do that. There are others who might have a capacity to do that. And we want to encourage that those who have that capacity get into that. If you don't have that capacity, again, government might want to support you, but will not be in a position to provide that kind of support because it will be government getting into mining. The government might as well get into mining to take over that responsibility. So I'm not too sure government is going to want to get into that. For now, what government is trying to do is to support more exploration, to support even those Ghanaians who don't have a capacity to get into more technical exploitation like these ones, to be able to operate nonetheless and generate livelihood for themselves. So I want to discourage people from getting into that if you don't have the capacity to that, but get into simpler means of exploiting resources to support your livelihood, which would ensure that government is supporting all of us to generate livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I do have a last question for the World Bank through the. Are you cooperating with Jeff Gold the United Nations Fund to fight and to eradicate mercury before 2030? Are you working with them or no?
No. So presently, we're working with the EPA. There's a similar project the EPA is doing, which is a mercury abatement project, and that is also being sponsored by the World Bank. And then there is this Gold Plus project, which is being supported by the United Nations, I think UNAID or so, which is also into formalization of the small-scale mining, and they are also talking about, mercury abatement. So these are the two organizations we are working with, yes, in formalizing the small-scale mining sector. However, we are also learning from some NGOs that have also taken the lead, in areas like traceability, gold traceability, and then all that. We're also learning from them, and we're working with PMMC to ensure that we establish a system like that will guide gold traceability and then, gold trading, and also help also meet, international standard when it comes to, gold trading. And we're working with PMMC, on that. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I would like to make a statement because as much as I like things to go very quick to get all the small-scale miners to be compliant, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. So that's why I want to salute Ghana because they're doing the right thing. And when, thanks to the Ministry of Land and the support of Mr. Kobi, Honorable Kobi Mensah, when we've talked to Metalor a couple of months ago, they withdrew from Africa since 2014. So I have explained them very humbly what Ghana did for the last 5 years, and they have decided to come with their own expenses to come and see what Ghana is doing. So I want to salute Mr. Antoine for that, because trust me, it's not that easy to bring someone here. So he recognized what has been done. He wanted to see by himself, and he's going to have a meeting with yourself, with Mr. Kobi, because his job is to entertain the idea to come to Ghana. I'm not speaking on his behalf. He's big on his own. But I think it's a big improvement that big stakeholders will come and see what Ghana is doing. So if you have any other questions on the audience, for myself, I'm done. And I wish you a wonderful lunch. And God bless Ghana. As I had a picture to show you, yes, I'll show that last year. Every time I come, I show it. Whoever has the gold makes the rules. So tell that to your international stakeholders, okay? God bless you and God bless Ghana. Thank you very much.